you with us. It's Friday morning, and I'm happy to say Kojo, Akoto, Boateng, and Akoto Sarpong are here with a whole bunch of newspapers to help us see the weekend through. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ben. Actually, today you took me to my father town. Hey!
Yeah, it just tells you that in every language you also know God, you know. So we can play the thing and it will bring the spirit. I tell you. There's actually a new album with that title. Yes, and
the title is Orodio.
Yes, yeah. I'll drop it next week.
Nice one. You know, tomorrow I'm hosting Drummond on Saturday Live.
You are joking
TV already? Yeah.
Drummond with their whole band.
Yes, and Gasmilla. So we are getting new school Ga music.
Stop it.
Old school Ga music.
You mean Telemore and Takradi can police you? So 2 o'clock on Citi
TV and also on Citi FM. Just get the family and let's have some fun on radio and TV.
I can't wait. Okay, now AJ, what are the papers talking about?
Starting off with the Ghanaian Time, and the president lashes at self-seeking banks. Government FIFA meeting postponed. Kolebu Teaching Hospital needs 600 beds to cater for patients as the acting CEO. And Exim Bank boosts share butter industry with 10 million Ghana cedis.
The Daily Graphic, Ghana-US military pact, Supreme Court orders AG, file response within 7 days. Government supporting local banks to speed up transformation agenda and make major highways dual carriageways or Chehine, and Parliament ratifies government's deal with Anglo Gold.
The new weekend crusading guide, number 12 Blues, FIFA Sports Ministry meeting on ice, and Xylophone shows love to Chief Imam by donating 1 million cedis as educational fund.
The Daily Guide, NDC dumps Anita for begging Rawlings. Kennedy Japan storms court over Anna's 25 million Ghana cedi suit, and Ruby Cocaine steps out.
The Chronicle, Trump holds Ghana to ransom as he pursues draconian immigration policy. Tor shuts down as well.
The Daily Statesman, NDC is bleeding, executives quarrel, branches in uproar as factions fight for political space. Said John Arnett for fight against unemployment, and US threatens Ghana with visa restrictions.
The Ghanaian Observer, Mahama best in bribery and corruption, John Boydu fires. Exim Bank explores natural endowments of Northern Region, and NDC disowns Anita Dusosio over Rawlings' apology.
The Independent, big announcement from the Vice President's office. Distribution of drugs, blood via drones will start in 2019. Baumia. Public Procurement Ministry saved Ghana 800 million Ghana cedis in 2017. Ajo Asafo.
The Publisher, MPP didn't hire JB Killer as NDC wades into controversy. NAM sets up Chief Imam Educational Fund, and Okada claims 1,008 lives.
If you go to the Daily Heritage, artwork to empower members, that's the Arts Writers Association of Ghana. Policymakers enriching themselves at the expense of the masses, says aspiring 2020 NDC flag bearer. Jobs galore as blockchain technology lands in Ghana. Don't be in a hurry to get rich, Osumanche advises youth. And Obengfo CEO trial, Stacey named John Boydu as next of kin, says lawyer.
The Mirror, flood victim refused to be rescued, and extreme heat causes miscarriage.
If you go to the Herald, Akufo-Addo family turns Ghana into a monarchy. Powerful Bumpty, Gabi Ochidako surge on Ameri energy for jobs. Parliament stops plan to divert common fund. Court to decide John Boydu's girlfriend murder, and MP wants minors compensated after ban lifting.
The Informer, as MPP gurus panic over contract killing confession, protect JB Killer, family urges Akufo-Addo.
The BNFT, empower PIAC to oversee the natural resource sector. Taxes cost Africa 68 billion annually, and investors' risk-reward scores improve for West African economies.
The Gold Street Business, Africa Center for Energy Policy pushes for framework on beneficial ownership in extractive sector. Private sector upbeat about cut in port inspection agency, and media creating space for women in power sector.
Moving on to citynewsroom.com, pool workers want GWCL board chair Afenyo Markin sacked. Also, John Kuma dares Daniel Siedu to name JB Danko as killers. Minority questions $259 million tax waiver for Anglo Gold, and MPP's 1D 1F is grand deception according to Suhini. We also have government orders AG to respond to US military base agreement lawsuit. If you go to My Joy Online, the lead story, Batidam quits AU anti-graft board over corruption and abuse of power. Also, US-Ghana visa restriction. We must continue to dialogue. This is Anodom Pre. And Speaker MPP MPs register for new national ID. If you go to citybusinessnews.com, MTN freezes account of Ponzi scheme over 11 million Ghana cedi default. British Airways improves quality of service to Ghana. And IMF team visits Ghana, rising debt high on the agenda. Globally, the big story, EU tariffs on US goods come into force. We are in a fully blown Trump-inspired trade war, people. And yesterday, during a program organized by Asset, people were saying, well, if the big powers are fighting, why don't we trade better among ourselves as Africans so we can benefit from the trade wars happening globally?
Yeah. So, Bernard, where do you want us to start from? Do you want us to start from taxes that have been dodged by multinationals?
Yeah, and then the tax waivers that have been, tax concession, which is causing so much controversy.
So the tax concession is on the front page of the Daily Graphic, and the dodged taxes stories is on the BNFT. Let me give you that story. It says multinational corporations are making away with more than 6% of the continent's GDP, mainly due to tax avoidance, an IEA report has revealed. The report, dubbed Africa is Not Poor, We Are Stealing Its Wealth, revealed that that out of the $203 billion that is leaving the continent annually, $68 billion is money lost from dodged taxes alone. And essentially, multinational corporations steal much of this legally by pretending that they are really generating their wealth in tax havens. So that is the first story.
Then the other one is the controversy over the tax waivers. So the tax waiver is not the same as a tax evasion. A waiver is simply a discussion that leads to some sort of concession. Minority in Parliament has questioned government's decision to grant a $259 million tax concession to Anglo Gold Ashanti. The concession formed part of the company's moves to reopen its Boateng mine, which was shut down in 2014. The mining company is now putting forth an initial investment of about $880 million. But according to minority spokesperson on finance, Kazilato Forsen, the deal was badly negotiated. He said Ghana would lose in excess of $300 million. Meanwhile, on the Citi Breakfast News this morning, the finance committee chairman sort of said, no, we're actually going to gain. So as ever, we don't know who to believe. But the truth is that the vice president himself complained that our stability agreements and some of the things we've signed in the past had made Ghana's tax position almost very poor in terms of how much we got from extractive sectors. And I'm told also that even though we've made a lot of oil this year and the past year, we've not recently received anything from on the tax side of things. So maybe later during the show, we'll give some numbers to listeners to get them better appreciation.
Let's stay with the resources. So PIAC, there's a story here that says that empower PIAC to oversee the natural resource sector in the BNFT. The story says the mandate of the Public Interest and Accountability Committee should be reviewed to include the other natural resource revenues if the creation of a similar institution would be seen as a duplication of function. Tax governance expert Mr. Abdallah Ali Nacha has proposed. PIAC was established by the Petroleum Revenue Management Act and is tasked with the oversight responsibility of monitoring and evaluating management of Ghana's petroleum resources. And Mr. Ali Nacha believes that we should add the other natural resources to.
Now let me give you an extract from a post by Nimoy Thompson which came out yesterday. He says for every $100 of oil exported, we get between $18 to $20. According to the 2018 budget, company taxes on oil for 2018 will be zero, despite the fact that the sector is expected to post the highest growth of any sector in 2018 at 23.7%. Listen, no. On average, we get between 18 to 20% of the revenue that is accrued from oil. And then company taxes on oil for 2018 will be zero, despite the fact that the sector is expected to post the highest growth rate of any sector in 2018, which is 23%. Don't forget the vice president reminded us that many of the carried interests in the mining sector are virtually useless because the mining companies are supposedly exploiting us. So what is our government doing? Why is it that when they are in government, they sort of defend their decisions? When they are in opposition, they say that things are bad for the country?
The vice president said when he was in government.
No, I know, but I'm saying that within this issue of tax concession in Parliament, it's always been like that. Don't forget that the MPS tax issue, the MPP were in opposition and they said the tax concessions were too high. And the NDC said it was okay, and that was in the millions of almost $1 billion cedis. So how come now they come to opposition and they are concerned, and then MPP comes to power and they think that is okay? I don't even get it. Meanwhile, we go around looking for money. We are trying. Look, we are on a whole tax, they say tin, looking for domestic tax from people who don't even have any money.
We've been told that new taxes will be introduced very soon because we need to raise revenue.
So you see that the finance committee there, all those on MPP side see this as a good deal, and then this is as a bad deal. Oh, Charlie.
Well, let me come to
fresh,
Well, coming to the Gold Street business, and the African Center for Energy Policy has asked government to urgently develop and adopt a beneficial ownership implementation framework in the oil and gas industry. The framework, ACEP noted, should outline the roles and responsibilities of stakeholders relevant for the implementation of the agenda. The center maintains that public registers on beneficial ownership is vital as improved access to it enables individuals, civil societies, and governments to trace loopholes through which companies are likely to engage in criminal acts. So, addressing the participants at the stakeholders engagement workshop on petroleum contracting and revenue management in Ghana, policy analyst at ACEP Linda Uhunu said the data on BO could tackle and expose potential tax evaders in the industry. And she said that between 1970 and 2008, Ghana lost in excess of $4.9 billion as a result of tax evaded by corporate groups, individuals, multinationals, and other organizations.
Thank you for that one.
Let's go to the presidency, then we'll go to the vice president as well. So the president first and the vice president. Government supporting local banks to speed up transformation agenda. Now the story says President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo has stated that his administration is taking bold and deliberate initiatives to support indigenous banks to finance ventures that would accelerate the nation's transformation agenda. He said the indigenous financial institutions will be assisted to venture into more risky ventures in industry and agric that have been the driving force to lead economic transformation, but which foreign banks have shied away from over the years. He was speaking at the African Center for Economic Transformation.
So yesterday, Alan told us that over 300 companies had gotten approval for 1D1F, and they were looking for financing. So I'm hoping that he will link that to what the president said and say, look, banks in Ghana, here are 300 potentially viable industrialization or manufacturing companies.
But wait, the indigenous banks issues, the capitalization issues, have we solved them? Or have
most of them say they are fine. At least have you heard any of them say they won't meet it yet? So that's the point. It means that by the end of 2018 they will still all be here. So we'll see.
Well, the Ghanaian Times angles it a little differently, saying that the president lashes at self-seeking banks. So the president has attributed the high cost of capital in the country over the past 3 decades to the selfish and profit-seeking interests of the banks operating in the country. According to the president, the banks had over the years made huge profits from the country but contributed woefully nothing to its development. The banks have for the past 20 or 30 years been very content at making loads of money but doing very passive things and not being particularly part of the risk-taking necessary for our economic transformation. Foreign-owned banks are the main players in our financial sector, and they have their own goals, which are not necessarily about the development of the country but to make profits. He went on to say, I do not have any difficulty with people wanting to make money, but I do have a problem with making money in an environment where they are not making any significant contribution to our economic development.
So there's a big clue there. It means that the petition the indigenous banks sent to him, he would not respond positively because he tells you he supports what the governor is doing. Because this is very clear that he doesn't see the sector as doing what it's supposed to do. So he's part of the cleanup. Let's see how that turns out.
Now let's go to the vice president. Distribution of drugs, blood, VAR drones will start in 2019. The story says...
No.
Just read it. So that we move on. Why are you looking at my face?
But why did you say...
Distribution of blood
and drugs, VAR drones will start in 2019.
What does that mean? You tell me the details. Stop laughing. Just read the story. Your mischief is too much.
Now, the story says that at the 2018 Annual Health Summit held in April 2018, the government mentioned that a health delivery system will begin in September this year. In a sudden turnaround, however, Vice President Dr. Baumia has given a new timeline for the implementation of government's promise to use drones to deliver essential services to deprived communities in the country. The Vice President, at a forum organized by the Africa Center for Economic Transformation on Thursday, stated that the move will take off in 2019 and not 2018 as earlier indicated. So this is the background. We signed a contract with a company called, a letter of intent with a US-based company called Zipline International Incorporated. And what they are going to do is to bring drones into the country, drone technology.
Look,
so when you are
go to the center spread of the graphic. Private company donates beds to 8 health facilities. Don't you think with all this brouhaha over and open hospitals and lack of beds, we should be focusing on more simple things than to be announcing drones now? The company is called Reha Medical Supplies.
But if you have beds and you don't have the essential supplies getting to you in time, you cannot deliver the health.
So, but let me read that story for you. The story says the Reha Medical Supply Ghana Limited, a multinational healthcare company, has presented 80 hospital beds to selected hospitals in the Greater Accra region. 20 of the beds were presented to Kolebu, 10 each to 37 and Police, Tema, Lekma and La General. The Achimota and Kasua Polyclinic received 5 each. The beds were presented following the recent no-bed syndrome that has bedeviled the healthcare sector in the country. Presenting the beds valued at 180,000 Ghana cedis to the beneficiary hospitals, the executive chairman of Reha Medical Group, Mr. Harry Sintim Abuaji, expressed regret over the recent death of a 70-year-old man as a result of the no-bed syndrome. And he says the donation was part of the company's CSR to promote healthcare in the country. That's great. I love it.
Bernard, what's today's date? 22nd, right?
22nd June.
Yes, so we are less than a month away to the official opening of the University of Ghana Medical Center. At least, according to the information.
No, it's end of July.
No,
the Minister for Health went to Parliament and said that at the end of July, the hospital will be open.
Okay,
so
review the
Parliament is the House of Record.
The Information Minister said July 19 on the City Breakfast Show.
I know, but as they say, Parliament is the House of Record. So what they say in Parliament is what holds.
End of 2019, the time will come.
Well, still on the no-bed syndrome, in the middle page of the Ghanaian Times, the acting CEO of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Dr. Samuel Siama, has disclosed the hospital currently needs a minimum of 600 beds to adequately cater for its patients. According to the CEO, management had been compelled to withdraw beds from other units of the hospital to fill up its emergency care to be able to provide quality care to patients who report in crisis.
Supreme Court orders AG file response within 7 days. This is the Ghana-US military pact story. Now, the story by Mabel Akubana said for the Daily Graphic says that the Supreme Court yesterday directed the Attorney General's office to file the state's written response to a suit challenging the Ghana-US military deal within 7 days. The order followed a request from the state that it needed an extension of time to file its written response to the case. A Supreme Court judge, Mr. Justice Gabriel Pwaman, who is hearing the case as a sole judge, gave the directive after the state had requested for more time to respond. Now, displeased with the deal, the Ashanti Regional Youth Organizer of the NDC, Mr. Yabuja Jemfi, known popularly in Kumasi as Amani, filed a writ invoking the original jurisdiction of the courts, praying it to declare as unconstitutional the agreement reached between Ghana and the United States.
Meanwhile, Chairman of Parliament's Committee on Foreign Affairs says it's unfortunate and in bad taste that the U.S. is threatening to impose visa restrictions on Ghanaians. Can you imagine? After the military deal, they are adding visa restrictions on top. Frank Anodum Press says Ghana has to find a diplomatic way of dealing with the issue, promising that the committee will delve into the matter. The threats follow the U.S. saying the threats follow what the U.S. says is Ghana's refusal to issue travel documents for Ghanaians in the U.S. awaiting deportation to Ghana. The Public Affairs Department of the U.S. Embassy in Ghana issued a strongly worded statement warning Ghanaian officials of possible visa restrictions on Ghanaians on Wednesday. It explained that Ghana has consistently failed to issue travel documents to citizens awaiting deportation from Ghana. Now, we are told that in 2016, December, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security identified Ghana as being at risk of non-compliance or removal of those under deportation orders. And this is a whole lot of things, guys.
Let me take you to another health story that we nearly missed. Disuse of Anchor Hospital to get revamped. This is the Ministry of Health reacting to the various media stories.
Okay.
Now, the story says the ministry says its capital investment unit has initiated measures to ensure that the multi-million-dollar former mental hospital facility at Ofanko, which has not been operational since it was rebuilt in 2016, is put into shape for use.
Okay.
That hospital was built under a road contract, so essentially the Ministry of Roads was supposed to hand it over to the ministry. So that's the update we have.
Well, let me bring you 2 quick stories on football. Government FIFA meeting postponed indefinitely. So this is in the Ghanaian Times. So government has postponed indefinitely a meeting scheduled for today with 3-member FIFA delegation to discuss pertinent issues affecting the running of football in the country. The FIFA delegation, which was to be led by the FIFA's regional director for Africa and the Caribbean zone was scheduled to arrive in the country last night ahead of the meeting today. However, PRO of the Sports Ministry, Mr. Elvis Ejebang, confirmed late yesterday that the meeting had been postponed till further notice. According to the PRO, the postponement had been made necessary as government continues to engage in very important and comprehensive consultations with major stakeholders in the football industry. But also at the back page of the Ghanaian Times, the Ministry of Youth and Sports says it was not aware of any decision by the Confederation of African Football to strip Ghana of the hosting rights for the 2018 African Women Cup of Nations Championship. Ghana is scheduled to hold the Women's Championship from November to December this year. However, information being gathered by GNA Sports revealed that the Ministry of Youth and Sports had not been informed. Though they haven't been informed, the CAF has alerted 3 countries to consider hosting it should there be a ban on Ghana by FIFA.
Now, there's a good one here. Exim Bank supports share butter industry with 10 million cedis. Center spread of Ghanaian Times. The Exim Bank has committed 10 million cedis to the development of the share butter industry in the northern part of the country. Dubbed the Share Empowerment Initiative, it would focus on building the capacity of processors, empower aggregators who were mostly women, and also finance the entire value chain. This is really great. You know, I use share butter.
Yeah.
Chief Executive of Exim Bank, Lawrence Ejisam, who disclosed this during a 5-day business visit to the Northern and Upper East regions last week, said the allocation would cover phase 1 of the initiative. This is great.
Let's go to the daily graphic for a road story. Make major highways dual carriageways. This is the Ochehine. So essentially, he has joined the Musicians Union of Ghana to call for the dualization of all major highways linking the country's major cities to avoid the increasing carnage on the road. According to the Ochehine, if cars are passing one another at 130 kilometers per hour, it is a recipe for disaster. We are the only country in the world in which whenever there is a report on an accident, 20 to 30 people die. He told the Daily Graphic almost a week after escaping a near fatal accident near Osino on the main.
Well, while we're at it, EU tariffs on US goods come into force. The European Union has introduced retaliatory tariffs on US goods as a top official launched a fresh attack on President Donald Trump's trade policy. We are in interesting times, people. The duties on 2.8 billion euro worth of US goods came into force today. Tariffs have been imposed on products such as whiskey, motorcycles, and orange juice. European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker said duties imposed by the US on the EU go against all logic and history. How can we take advantage of this in Africa? Yes. Yeah, that's the whole story. So that's it for the newspaper review. There's business news at 7. That's City Business News, and the City Business Edition right after that. Don't go away.
This is Total Exalium, the fuel that cleans your engine kilometer after kilometer. Total Exalium, the fuel that cleans your engine kilometer after kilometer.